The State Department is still offering a $2 million reward for information leading to additional arrests. I ask anyone with information to contact us at 424-494-0614.
Ryan Wedding's hitmen executed a federal witness in broad daylight in Colombia, collected $500,000 in cryptocurrency, and vanished. Despite Wedding's arrest in January 2026 and 36 arrests across his organization, the men who pulled the trigger were not identified, but we got exclusive information, and you wouldn't believe it. The Olympian turned kingpin and his network of killers. Ryan Wedding competed for Canada at the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City. He was a snowboarder. At 6 feet 3 inches with grandparents who owned a ski hill in Thunder Bay, Ontario, he seemed destined for a long career on the slopes. A promising 20-year-old Olympic rookie, somewhere in that Team Canada crowd, seemingly destined for greatness. That career ended quickly. Wedding failed to qualify for the next round at those games. It would be his only time competing on the world's biggest stage. Within years, he would forge ties with a Mexican drug cartel. The trajectory from elite athlete to alleged drug kingpin and murderer to famous fugitive remains one of the strangest transformations in organized crime history. The first sign of trouble came in 2006. Wedding's name appeared in an RCMP search warrant for a cannabis grow-op in Maple Ridge, east of Vancouver. He wasn't charged, but his criminal connections flourished in the shadows. Crime reporter Kim Boland wrote about Wedding for the Vancouver Sun when those connections later came to light. She received pushback from people who knew him. She noted, "I got a lot of calls from his friends and family after I first reported on the case, suggesting that, we were being cruel to report this and that he was a great guy. He was a very charismatic person, very popular, and had lots of women in his life." The charisma masked something darker. In June 2008, Wedding flew to Los Angeles to buy 24 kilograms of cocaine. He walked into an FBI sting operation. The confidence that had carried him down Olympic slopes apparently convinced him this drug deal would succeed like any other. Retired FBI Special Agent Brett Kalina arrested him that day. Years later, reached in San Diego, Kalina recalled the encounter. "We really didn't know about Ryan Wedding until he stepped off the plane. He was very confident that he was just going to be able to pull this off. This was going to be a deal like any other that he may have done up in Canada. And again, we didn't have a huge history at that point of him. We did not know he was a snowboarder." Wedding pleaded with the judge for leniency. U.S. court records obtained by CBC News show he said, "Your Honor, what I did was completely out of character for me. I am truly sorry. As an athlete, I was always taught that there are no second chances. And well, I'm here asking for exactly that." He received 4 years in a federal prison in West Texas, a notorious mega prison. While incarcerated, he married a BC businesswoman on Valentine's Day 2011. The marriage license is dated February 14th, 2011, while Wedding was still an inmate. After his release, records show they dated in BC. His former bride spoke about him years later when reached by phone. Asked if she had any concerns about his lifestyle at the time, she responded, "No, he said that he was wrong. He was just there with a friend and he got convicted like he was just at the wrong place and wrong time." When asked directly if she was involved in money laundering, she replied, "No, of course I am not." However, investigators found her name came up twice in police investigations tied to money laundering. She has not been charged with a crime. Records show she and Wedding moved in together in Coquitlam, BC, after he got out of prison, around the time authorities say he was building his own criminal network. After his release, prosecutors say he built a criminal network tied to the Sinaloa cartel that moved over 60 metric tons of cocaine annually. The operation generated more than $1 billion. The authorities who had once arrested him for trying to buy 24 kilograms of cocaine would later accuse him of moving thousands of times that amount.
This is what a united front looks like. And just to tell you how bad of a guy Ryan Wedding is, he went from an Olympic snowboarder to the largest narco trafficker in modern times. He is a modern-day El Chapo. He is a modern-day Pablo Escobar. And he thought he could evade justice. But these brave men and women put together a prosecution package, put together an investigative package, put together an operation strategy, and here we are today, bringing him to justice for trafficking hundreds of kilos of cocaine and also for the murder of innocent civilians.
By 2015, the RCMP had Wedding on their radar when they unveiled a major operation targeting cartel-linked cocaine imports by sea. but by the time they charged him, Wedding was already gone. He had fled to Mexico, where prosecutors say he enjoyed protection from the Sinaloa cartel. The infamous cartel provided a shield that would last for years. His network operated from Canada to Colombia. Cocaine moved through Southern California distribution hubs in the Inland Empire, San Bernardino and Moreno Valley before heading north to Canada. Wedding ran it all from Mexico, coordinating through encrypted communications and trusted lieutenants. And when problems arose, he solved them with murder. Associates and rivals turned up dead from Canada to Colombia. A long trail of bodies leading back to an unlikely suspect, an Olympic snowboarder from BC. The RCMP say Wedding still poses a serious threat in Canada. Authorities released 2 photos, both taken somewhere in 2024, betting someone would remember seeing him and report his whereabouts. The hope was that a $10 million bounty, later raised to $15 million, would help end a decade-long manhunt. FBI Special Agent Kalina, the man who first arrested Wedding back in 2008, understood what they were dealing with. He's someone who needs to be brought to justice, because this won't be the end, Kalina warned. The men who carried out these killings form the central question of this story. Wedding ordered hits, but who pulled the triggers, and where are they now? The Sea-Doo murders, a botched hit and unidentified killers. November 20th, 2023, just before midnight, a gunman wearing a black hoodie stormed into a rental home on Mayfield Road in Caledon, Ontario, northwest of Toronto. The quiet suburban neighborhood offered no warning of what was about to happen. Inside were Jagtar Singh Sidhu, 57, and his wife Harbhajan Kaur Sidhu, 55. They had arrived in Canada from India 4 months earlier to visit their children, their daughter Jaspreet and their son Gurdit. Gurdit was not home that night. The family was preparing for bed. They had no connection to drug trafficking. None. Authorities, including US prosecutors and Ontario Provincial Police, confirmed this explicitly. They were visitors, innocent people in the wrong place. The gunman opened fire anyway. Jagtar Singh Sidhu died instantly. His wife, Harbhajan, was hit with multiple bullets. Reports indicate as many as 22 separate wounds. The violence was overwhelming, disproportionate, designed to ensure no survival. She would die in hospital 13 to 14 days later, never recovering from the devastating injuries inflicted that night. Their 28-year-old daughter Jaspreet was also in the house. She was shot 13 times. She witnessed her father's death. She heard her mother's final screams. She survived after spending a month in a coma, left partially paralyzed. Life-altering injuries, permanent trauma, a lifetime of memories she cannot escape. Jaspreet has since spoken publicly about that night. "My father was shot in front of me," she said. "I heard my mother's last screams, and after that it was complete silence." She described the horror in interviews. She spoke about the day of the shooting, marking the start of accountability for those responsible. Of Wedding, she said, "He will have to face his karma." The survival that seemed like a miracle left her with a burden no one should carry, watching her parents die while bullets tore through her own body. US federal authorities, through a 2024 indictment under Operation Giant Slalom, allege Wedding and his second-in-command, Andrew Clark, ordered this hit. The target was supposed to be someone else entirely, a drug courier or associate believed to have stolen a cocaine shipment that had passed through Southern California. This person was of Indian background and had previously rented or been associated with the same home on Mayfield Road. The gunmen acted on poor intelligence, perhaps old information, perhaps sloppy surveillance. They targeted the wrong people. An innocent family visiting from India paid the price for a cartel's vengeance over stolen drugs. The intended target had moved on. The Sidhu family knew nothing of cocaine shipments or cartel disputes, or the violence that followed both. The shooter, or shooters, in the Sidhu case have never been identified. Ontario Provincial Police describe it as a brazen home invasion and confirm they are still working full-time on it. As of January 2026, no arrests have been made for the actual execution of the shooting, even though Wedding and Clark face US murder conspiracy charges tied to the killings. Police later revealed the attack on the Sidhu family was a grim case of mistaken identity. The cartel wanted blood for stolen cocaine. They got the blood of innocent people instead. And the triggermen who pulled the shooting walked away into the Canadian night. They remain at large. Their identities are unknown. Their whereabouts a mystery. No physical description beyond a black hoodie. No faces. No names. Just 2 dead parents and a daughter who survived to demand justice that may never come. And they were not Wedding's only killers. Other hits followed. Other bodies accumulated. The most high profile would come in Colombia, where the stakes were even higher. A federal witness who could bring down the entire operation. The Colombia assassination, $5 million to silence a witness. Jonathan Acevedo Garcia was a 39-year-old Canadian-Colombian man with ties to Quebec and Montreal. He had been one of Wedding's associates, part of the network that moved cocaine worth billions. Then he started cooperating with the FBI. He became a federal witness. He flipped. In the world of drug trafficking, cooperation with authorities is the ultimate betrayal. When Wedding learned about this treachery, he responded with a bounty. Prosecutors allege he offered $5 million to have the witness killed before he could testify. $5 million to silence one man. The message to everyone else in the organization was clear. Cooperation with authorities meant death. Painful, public death. The hunt for Acevedo Garcia involved Wedding's entire network. Resources that had been deployed to move cocaine were redirected to tracking a single human being across international borders. A Canadian crime and gossip website called The Dirty News, run by an associate named Gursawak Singh Bal, posted photos and personal details of the target for identification purposes. The website became a hunting tool, crowdsourcing murder. Anyone who recognized Acevedo Garcia from those posts could report his location for a piece of that $5 million bounty. An Orlando-based contact was paid to provide location details. Others tracked the witness across international borders, following leads wherever they went. Some allegedly attempted surveillance in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, following intelligence that proved fruitless. The witness moved. The hunters followed. The net tightened. Ahmad Nabil Zitoun from Edmonton joined the search. A Montreal area enforcer named Atna Onha, nicknamed Tupac or Kim Jong-un, and reportedly connected to biker gangs, allegedly confirmed the cooperation and helped coordinate the response. The network mobilized its resources across multiple countries, tracking a single man marked for death. On January 31, 2025, the assassins found their target. Acevedo Garcia was eating lunch at a popular restaurant in a shopping mall in Medellin, Colombia. Broad daylight, public place, packed with customers going about their ordinary days. None of that mattered to the killers. A gunman entered the establishment. He walked through the crowded space toward the table where the former associate sat with his meal. No hesitation, no disguise beyond what allowed him to blend in briefly. He fired 5 shots into the back of the witness's head. Then he fled, possibly on a motorcycle, using the classic Sicario escape method that has been perfected over decades in Colombia's cartel wars. An accomplice remained long enough to photograph the body, proof of completion. The image was sent to Wedding. Prosecutors say he circulated the photo among associates as a warning, captioning it with phrases like "boom," "headshot" on platforms like the Dirty News website. The message traveled through the organization. This is what happens to cooperators. He allegedly sent a bejeweled necklace to at least one person involved as a reward for their role in the killing. Jewelry for murder, payment in kind for services rendered. The assassins were paid $500,000 in cryptocurrency, untraceable, anonymous. The digital payment matched the anonymity of the killers themselves. $500,000 moved through blockchain transactions while the body of the witness cooled on the restaurant floor. US authorities describe them as a crew or group of unknown assassins. They are believed to be professional sicarios, contract killers, possibly sourced through Wedding's transnational network, which included tactical training camps and ties to organized crime in Canada, Mexico, and Colombia. These were not amateur killers making mistakes. They were professionals who knew their craft. Their names have never been released. Their faces remain unknown to the public. The FBI is offering up to $2 million each for information leading to their identification, arrest, and conviction. $2 million per killer, a bounty to match the bounty Wedding allegedly placed on his victim. As of late January 2026, they have not been caught. The restaurant in Medellin has returned to normal operations. Customers eat lunch where a man died. The sicarios have melted back into the criminal underworld that spawned them, ghosts who killed and vanished. The infrastructure of violence, trainers, enablers, and enforcers. Ryan Wedding didn't just hire killers. He built an infrastructure to create them, support them, and pay them. A machine designed to produce violence on demand. Every successful assassination required not just a triggerman, but a support network. Trainers, financiers, lookouts, coordinators, and cleaners. At the center of this infrastructure was Gianluca Tiepolo, who ran tactical training camps for hitmen through an organization called Windrose Tactical Solutions. These camps trained the foot soldiers of Wedding's operation, men who would go on to enforce territorial control, eliminate rivals, silence witnesses, and protect cocaine shipments as they moved through the pipeline from Colombia to Canada. The training was methodical: firearms proficiency, surveillance techniques, close quarters combat, escape planning. The camps produced killers who knew their craft. When Wedding needed someone eliminated, he could draw from a pool of trained operatives rather than relying on random street criminals who might panic or leave evidence. The US Treasury sanctioned Tiepolo in November 2025 as part of a broader action against Wedding's network. The sanctions targeted 19 people in total, including Wedding himself. The message was clear: everyone connected to this organization would face consequences. The trainer who prepared the killers would be held accountable alongside the man who ordered the killings. Among those sanctioned were enablers who helped move money and provide cover. Attorney Deepak Paradkar allegedly assisted with money laundering and legal cover for the organization, a lawyer providing legitimate-seeming services to what was, underneath, a murder-for-hire operation tied to one of the world's largest cocaine trafficking networks. Legal expertise turned to criminal purposes. Jeweler Roland Sokolovsky reportedly helped process payments. In the diamond and jewelry trade, cash moves easily. Large transactions raise fewer questions. Precious metals and stones hold value across borders. The perfect front for cartel money that needed to appear legitimate. Both Paradkar and Sokolovsky were arrested in the November 2025 sweep that brought down much of Wedding's support network. The enablers faced justice, but the killers they enabled remained free. The enforcer class included men like Atna Onha from Montreal. His nicknames, Tupac and Kim Jong-un, suggest a reputation for violence that preceded him. His alleged biker gang ties provided access to additional muscle and criminal networks across Canada. When Wedding needed enforcers in the Canadian market, Onha allegedly provided connections to men capable of anything. Gurswak Singbal operated differently. His weapon was information. Through the Dirty News website, he allegedly posted photos and personal details that helped identify targets for assassination. When Wedding needed to find Jonathan Acevedo Garcia, Al's platform allegedly became a hunting tool. The witness's face was broadcast to anyone who might recognize him. Information warfare in service of murder.
We've arrested 36 people for their role in this organization. Again, we've worked with our Canadian partners, our Mexican partners, our partners in Colombia and the Dominican Republic. The Treasury Department has sanctioned 19 people, including Ryan Wedding himself.
The network stretched across borders like a spiderweb of criminal enterprise. Colombian contacts sourced cocaine from the production centers in South America where the raw product originated. They may have also sourced sicarios, professional killers with experience and anonymity, men who had learned their trade in decades of Colombian cartel violence. Mexican cartel connections provided protection and passage for both drugs and people. The Sinaloa cartel's territories became safe havens for Wedding and his operations. Canadian associates handled distribution and enforcement on the northern end. Cocaine moved from Colombia through Mexico to Southern California, then up to Canada for sale in cities across the country. U.S. hubs in the Inland Empire, San Bernardino and Moreno Valley, served as the critical choke point where products moved from south to north.
The Los Angeles Police Department is proud to stand with our federal, international, and local partners as we announce the arrest of Ryan James Wedding. This has been a coordinated, intelligence-driven investigation into Wedding's global drug trafficking organization, which used Los Angeles as its primary point of distribution. Our collective efforts led to the seizure of more than 2,300 kilograms of cocaine, 44 kilograms of methamphetamine, 44 kilograms of fentanyl, 8 firearms, and over $55 million in illicit assets.
Many of these enablers and enforcers now face consequences. The November 2025 arrests brought in 10 people connected to the witness killing and other activities. Andrew Clark, Wedding's alleged second-in-command, was arrested earlier and extradited to face American justice. The total number of defendants across related cases has reached approximately 36, but the actual triggermen, the sicarios who walked into a Colombian restaurant and executed a man eating lunch, remain free. The infrastructure crumbled, the leadership fell, the enablers faced arrest, the killers escaped. The hunt continues, sicarios at large and rewards unclaimed. Ryan Wedding is no longer free. On January 22, 2026, he was apprehended in Mexico City. Mexican authorities say he turned himself in, though his defense attorney disputes this characterization, claiming Wedding was living openly in Mexico rather than hiding.
This marks the 500th capture of an FBI top 10 fugitive since its inception 75 years ago. I want to congratulate the devoted team effort that led to this capture. Today is a great day for the FBI and for our partners here today, specifically our partners at the RCMP, the LAPD, and the DEA, and so many other agencies at every level.
He was transferred to U.S. custody and flown to Southern California. On January 26, 2026, he appeared in federal court in Santa Ana, Orange County, and pleaded not guilty to 17 felony charges across 2 indictments. These include leading a continuing criminal enterprise, murder in connection with the enterprise, drug distribution, money laundering, and witness tampering. The charges connected to the Sidhu murders in Ontario, the killing of Mohammed Zafar in 2024, the killing of Randy Fader in April 2024, the assassination of Jonathan Acevedo Garcia in Colombia in January 2025, a catalogue of violence spanning borders and years. U.S. Magistrate Judge John D. Early ordered Wedding detained without bond. A status hearing is scheduled for February 11, 2026. Trial is tentatively set for March 24, 2026 in downtown Los Angeles, though experts expect delays of 6 months or more due to the case's complexity and the number of defendants involved across related proceedings. If convicted on the murder-related charges, Wedding faces a mandatory life sentence. The Olympic snowboarder, who once asked a judge for a second chance, will spend the rest of his life in prison. That last line matters. Despite the FBI's success in capturing Wedding, the organization's most dangerous operatives remain unidentified and at large. The Colombia assassins who killed Jonathan Acevedo Garcia are still ghosts. The FBI has released photos and continues to seek information. The State Department reward stands at $2 million per individual. No arrests have been announced. The Sidhu murder shooter remains unknown as well. Ontario Provincial Police continue their investigation into the November 2023 home invasion.
Ryan Wedding will be held in custody over the weekend and is anticipated to have his initial appearance on Monday morning. While we're happy about this victory, we have a lot of work ahead of us to prosecute this case and continue our investigation. I want to emphasize we are still seeking multiple individuals wanted for their roles in this organization
that killed an innocent couple through mistaken identity. No triggerman has been identified, no arrest made. The Sicario model that Wedding allegedly employed continues to thrive across Latin America. In Colombia, hitmen emerged during the Pablo Escobar era of the 1980s, often recruited from impoverished neighborhoods and trained to kill with motorcycles and close-range headshots. Many were teenagers, some as young as 13 to 15 years old. They started as lookouts, falcons, before graduating to killings. The culture persists under groups like the Gulf Clan and dissident FARC factions. The classic image remains consistent across decades. Young men on motorcycles pulling up behind victims and shooting them in the head or car. The method that killed Acevedo Garcia follows this pattern precisely. A gunman, a public place, shots to the head, a fast escape. In Mexico, the same model evolved into paramilitary-style forces with military-grade weapons, AK-47s, ARs-15, grenade launchers, armored vehicles, and drones. The Sinaloa cartel, Wedding's alleged protectors, and the Jalisco New Generation cartel employ thousands of these killers. Some are children as young as 6, groomed as child assassins. Others are former police or military personnel bringing professional skills. All are considered expendable by the cartels they serve. Wedding allegedly tapped into both worlds. His organization connected Canadian distribution networks to Mexican protection and Colombian products. When problems arose, he allegedly contracted out the violence to professionals who knew how to disappear. Professional killers who left no trail. Sicarios trained in the craft of murder. Justice for the victims remains incomplete. The Sidhu family, Jaspret Kaur Sidhu, survives with 13 bullet wounds and the permanent memory of her parents' deaths, has not seen the shooter face charges. Her father died in front of her. Her mother screamed her last screams within earshot of her daughter. The man who pulled the trigger walks free somewhere in the world. The family of Jonathan Acevedo Garcia, whatever their complicated relationship with a man who worked for a drug cartel before becoming an informant, has not seen his killers identified. He cooperated with authorities. He tried to help bring down the organization, and for that, he was hunted across international borders and executed in a public place with his meal still on the table. Wedding will stand trial. His enablers face prosecution. His money launderers have been sanctioned. His tactical trainers have been exposed. The infrastructure of violence has been dismantled piece by piece across multiple countries. But the men who pulled the triggers, they remain anonymous, they remain free. They collected their cryptocurrency payments and vanished into the underworld that produced them. And somewhere in the world, $4 million in reward money waits for anyone who can identify them. The FBI continues the hunt. The phone number remains active, 424-494-0614. WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, international calls accepted. Ryan Wedding's deadliest hitmen are still out there. The question is no longer whether Wedding will face justice. The question is whether the men who carried out his orders ever will. Thanks for watching. Check out other cards on the screen.